I'm of the opinion that Wallace and Gromit are among the greatest animated characters of all time, so I was definitely interested when it was announced a new feature-length film of the cheese-loving inventor and his faithful dog was in the works. Titled Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Fowl, while their previous adventures were mostly standalone, this one acts as essentially a sequel to The Wrong Trousers, with Feathers McGraw making his return. So was I pleased with their latest antics? Yes, very much so, as this is a delightful and very funny comedy with plenty of elements we've come to associate with this duo. The idea of Wallace building an electronic garden gnome to do the work is classic Wallace, while also tying into a theme about not relying too heavily on technology. The previous movies have touched on the issues caused by his inventions, but this one really goes head-on with that concept, although still with a heavily comedic touch. On a story level, this does feel like the busiest film yet, as we're following 3 subplots involving Wallace Gromit and the gnomes, Feathers McGraw, and a couple police officers trying to figure out what's going on. The film frequently cuts between them, but they do connect by the end in a clever manner. There are several humorous sight gags and wordplay involved, as to be expected, although what I actually found the funniest were little details about the world. Things that would be strange in, say, a live-action movie fit right at home with the humor and style established with Wallace and Gromit. For example, there's something hilarious about Wallace making evil an option in his electronic gnome. Why would he do that? But it's basically a take on how inventors and scientists in movies put completely unnecessary options in their creations. Same with us only ever seeing 2 cops working the police station, or that Wallace and Gromit's house is so much bigger on the inside than I thought it was. It's all part of the unexpected charm of the world Nick Park has created and developed over the years. What's also great about Wallace and Gromit is the atmosphere Park brings to the films. Park and his co-director Merlin Crosskam give the film the right visual look that calls to mind classic cinema with their use of angles and other camera techniques. One of the main attractions with Vengeance Most Fowl does come from the reappearance of Feathers McGraw, although he's surprisingly not in the movie as much as you would think. Nonetheless, he does play a central role in the story as he pulls the strings behind bars. There's something so amusing about the way he moves, and even though he has no facial expressions, we still get a sense of his cunning and the cogs turning in his brain as he plots his next move. I thought he was very well utilized here, and this felt like a natural continuation to The Wrong Trousers. Meanwhile, through the police officers trying to solve the strange burglaries happening in town, I wondered if the film was making a comment on how police can get ahead of themselves and their occasional lack of effectiveness in trying to solve crimes and catch those responsible. We get both the veteran who's been on the job for too long and the rookie still figuring out the ropes and how their combined efforts put a serious dent in things. This movie is notable for being the first major film project to not have the late Peter Sallis as the voice of Wallace. Ben Whitehead, who had taken over as the official voice a while back, is in the recording booth instead, and he does a marvelous job. He's able to sound exactly like Sallis, even getting down the little nuances in his performance. He's come a long way since voicing Wallace in the video games, and more than honors the role and understands the appeal of the character. The other voice actors also do commendable work with their characters, including Reese Shearsmith finding the right tone for the garden gnomes and showing their change from good and helpful to evil. Of course, a large amount of the appeal of Wallace and Gromit does come from the stop-motion animation. The Aardman animators are some of the best at this, with a range of expressions given to Gromit and their mounting of the action sequences. Aardman has continued to stay true to themselves for all these years, even when they go through multiple film distributors or their brief foray into computer animation, and they remain completely British in their sensibilities. That, strangely, is a part of the universal appeal of their films, as the directors and writers apply their wit and invention to these great story ideas. I love how each Wallace and Gromit movie has its own distinct feel that sets each one apart, and Nick Park and his team continue to find new comic ideas and opportunities for them. These are truly timeless characters, and it's amazing they are still here generations later to bring viewers so much joy.